Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking something honestly pretty wild. We're looking at how a bizarre internet joke, which actually started out as an insult, exploded into this massive, undeniable outlet for youth frustration in India. It's basically a masterclass in modern digital mobilization, and we're going to dive right into how it works, what it actually means, and whether it has the muscle to force real systemic change.
So let's just get the most obvious question out of the way. Wait, what party? I mean, how does a literal pest, an insect most people are completely disgusted by, somehow become the ultimate symbol of political defiance in 2026? It sounds totally absurd, right? Well, that's exactly the point. Keep that in the back of your mind as we go through this, because what looks like a giant meme is actually a deeply structured response to systemic failure.
Enter the Cockroach Janta Party, or the CJP. They are heavily parodying the ruling establishment, the Bharatiya Janta Party. But here's the catch. They have absolutely zero intention of fighting in formal elections. It's a completely new paradigm. They're this fluid, unregistered entity hijacking the branding and language of a traditional political party to wage a full-on war of satire against the status quo.
And the scale we're talking about here? It's staggering. The CJP is tapping straight into a very angry Gen Z demographic. These are young citizens dealing with near unemployment, wild economic shifts, and crumbling infrastructure. Because the usual paths to change just feel like a dead end, they mobilized millions of supporters practically overnight. People are literally replacing their profile pictures with bugs across the board, merch is selling out, and physical insect masks are even showing up at local protests. This isn't just a few internet trolls. It's a highly coordinated digital wave powered by real economic anxiety.
But where did this all start? Well, the spark was actually a high-profile legal hearing. During the proceedings, Chief Justice of India Surya Kant allegedly compared young, unqualified internet critics to cockroaches and societal parasites. Now, normally, when a high-ranking official drops an insult like that, you'd expect outrage. You know, fiery op-eds, demands for formal apologies, protests, the whole shebang. But nope, not this time.
Instead of getting offended, the youth completely flipped the script. They looked at what a cockroach actually is, a creature of extreme resilience, and they weaponized that insult. It's actually a brilliant use of humor in defiance. Historically, co-opting a slur is incredibly powerful. Think of how the term impressionists started as a joke by art critics. By claiming the insult, they basically said, you know what? You're absolutely right. We are cockroaches, we can survive a nuclear blast, and good luck trying to get rid of us.
This whole pivot was spearheaded by communications strategist Abhijit Dipke. Under his lead and fueled by the raw speed of meme culture, millions of young Indians embrace this label as a literal badge of honor overnight. And that speed is crucial. Traditional organizing takes months, sometimes years of knocking on doors. Meme culture let them bypass all of that, turning an alleged moment of elite mockery into a massive, unified movement in a matter of hours.
You've got to love the juxtaposition here between the vibe they project and their actual reality. On the surface, they sarcastically call themselves secular, socialist, democratic, and lazy. It's this carefree, apathetic digital persona. But underneath that, it's deadly serious. It's driven by severe unemployment and broken systems. The humor is essentially this shiny protective wrapper around a very real, palpable societal anger that traditional parties just haven't been able to fix.
And if you want proof of how serious they are, just look at their manifesto, starting with this number, 20. The CJP is demanding a strict 20-year election ban for any politicians, MLAs, or MPs who defect from their parties in exchange for power. This is huge because political defection totally shatters voter trust. They aren't asking for little policy tweaks here. They want massive structural overhauls to fix the system's integrity.
Then there's the number 50. Continuing with these radical demands, they are boldly pushing for a 50% reservation for women in parliament. This lines up perfectly with very real, ongoing global debates around gender parity in government. So, they're using this absurd cockroach facade to push for heavily debated democratic reforms that traditional politicians often avoid or just delay forever.
Rounding out this completely impartial hit list of broken systems, they're demanding a ban on post-retirement Rajya Sabha seats for Supreme Court justices to protect judicial independence. Plus, they are relentlessly focused on student issues. They want all exam rechecking fees scrapped and an immediate, transparent investigation into the systemic medical exam paper leaks. These leaks are ruining students' futures, and by targeting them, the CJP creates an incredibly focused agenda that speaks right to the heart of their base.
Now here's where it gets really interesting, the jump from URL to IRL.
Historically, successful protests start in the physical world to get enough mass to get media attention. The CJP totally reversed that. Step 1 was weaponizing the insult digitally to capture the narrative. Step 2, validate it by organizing actual street cleanup drives while dressed in cockroach costumes. And step 3 is using all that unified attention to actively protest the exam leaks in the physical world. Picture this. You've got people doing highly constructive community work, picking up trash while dressed as repulsive pests. It creates this wild cognitive dissonance, and it's a calculated media strategy. They are using absurd satire to practically shame the authorities into doing their jobs. I mean, traditional media can't exactly ignore a crowd of giant bugs cleaning the streets, which then forces them to cover the very real student issues the bugs are protesting. It proves that humor can be a terrifyingly effective weapon.
But we do have to take a step back and look at the actual limits of digital activism here. There's a massive tension between the power of this movement and its structural friction. On one hand, the power is undeniable. It mobilizes millions instantly and heavily controls the narrative. But on the other hand, they aren't a formally registered party. For all the noise they make, they will never actually put a chief cockroach in parliament to vote on the laws they want changed. So does controlling the narrative actually translate to legislative change?
And skeptics are totally right to point this out. Meme culture alone isn't some magic wand that dismantles decades-old political machinery. If you look at history, massive movements like civil rights or big labor strikes ultimately needed institutional leverage. They needed formal lobbying, unions, and voting blocs to actually pass laws. The CJP has mastered the timeline and the internet, but the harsh reality of digital activism is that awareness doesn't equal legislation. Without that traditional machinery, the system itself stays pretty much intact.
As we wrap up this explainer, I'll leave you with this final, provocative thought. Is the Cockroach Janta Party just a flash in the pan, a funny digital joke that will just fade out when the next big trend hits? Or is this blend of weaponized humor and serious policy demands the undeniable new frontier of youth protest? The systems they're taking on are deeply entrenched, but as they've definitely reminded us, a cockroach is incredibly hard to get rid of. Thanks for joining me today. Keep questioning everything, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.